Okay, so we're going to finish up our notes on that last page regarding writing equations for hyperbolas. And so remember that these are the two equations for writing hyperbolas. So remember that if the x squared is over the a squared, then this is a horizontal axis. So the vertices and the foci are going to be on the or the x-axis. If it is a vertical axis, then the y squared is going to be over the a squared. So that gives us the two that we're dealing with. So the two type of problems that we're going to be dealing with, I'm going to jump for just a second to look at the problems, are examples where they give you an a value and a c value. Now obviously when you look at these equations there's no c value in them. Okay, so we're going to have to do something in order to find the b squared value. Okay, and then the other example type are ones where they're actually going to give you the foci points and the vertice points. And based upon where the value is written, like in this example, the value is in the y part, okay? So that means that these are going to be on the y-axis, so they're going to be vertical. Now, the a and c from this equation or from this problem alone, there's no way for us to know whether it's a horizontal axis or a vertical axis. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay, so let me help you write in the steps. So the first step is that we're always going to assume that the transverse axis is horizontal if all that is given to us is an a value and a c value, okay? And that's obvious from this example here. The reason why is, again, because we're not going to know just from an a value and a c value whether it's on the x-axis or the y-axis. We would only know that if some points were given. So since no points are given, we're just going to automatically assume that those type of problems are horizontal problems. So we would use this equation, okay? All right, so we're going to square the a value, and then we would automatically plug that into the equation over here, okay? But we need a b squared value, and the only way to get a b squared value is to use the c and the a, and then we're going to use that equation, that Pythagorean theorem equation, to find out what the c value is, or I'm sorry, the b value. So we would plug a in here, c in here, then we would solve for b squared, and then we would know what to put into the formula for b squared, okay? So if it's only an a and a c value, we're going to assume it's horizontal, okay? It is possible, though, that the a value is going to be given to us in a vertex, and the c value might be given in a focus point, okay, foci, all right? So remember that on foci and vertices, that the vertices are always an a value and the foci are always a c value. So once we are given that, and then we're able to determine from these whether it's vertical or horizontal, because we can look at where the point is written. If it's in the y value, then we know it's a vertical. If it's in the x value, then we know it's a horizontal. Okay, so let's try the two examples. First example says find the equation of a hyperbola given that a equals 11 and c equals 15. And we're told that if it's just an a and c value given, we're going to assume it's a horizontal axis. So we're going to use this equation. Okay? So a squared is going to be found by doing 11 squared. So that's 121. So I know I'm going to put that into the formula right here underneath the x squared. Okay? Now the c value doesn't really do us any good. Other than that, we're going to use it to find the b squared value. So we're going to use this formula. A squared we just found was 121. C squared is going to be whatever 15 squared is, which is 225. So when I solve for b squared by subtracting 121, I'm going to get that b squared is 104. Okay? And knowing that is going to allow me now to do my formula. Okay? So let me scoot this over. Let's go put that down there. Okay, so from that I can do the formula. So remember, my formula is going to be assumed to be horizontal. So a squared is 121. And then I just found that the b squared was 104. And there's my answer. There's my equation of the hyperbola. All right, now the next one I'm going to be able to actually have to look at and determine whether or not it's a horizontal or a vertical. So if you look at where the values are written, both the foci and the vertices are on the y-axis. So if they're on the y-axis, then it's going to be this formula that we're going to use, okay? This one here. So I'm going to have the y squared on top. A squared is going to be found by taking the value of a, which is 1, and squaring it. So that's going to give me an a squared value of 1. B squared I'm going to have to find, and I'm going to have to find that using the Pythagorean theorem equation. A squared was 1. C squared is found by taking 2 and squaring it. So the c squared value is 4. So if I solve this, I'm going to subtract 1, and I get that b squared is 3. So there's my b squared value. So now I can plug it into the formula. Remember that in this case, the y squared is going to be above the a squared. A squared is 1. B squared I just found was 3. So I could write it like this, or remember, when there's a 1 in the denominator, I can basically ignore the 1. So I could also write my answer like this. Either way is acceptable. Either way, I would count it correct. Okay, so that gives you the last of your notes there for writing the equation of hyperbolas. So that should help you finish up the rest of your homework.